Um, the 2024 elections have come and gone, and I voted. I voted for Trump. I used to hate that guy, and then I got the veil pulled from my eyes and realized that I was a Democrat in name only. I was a Dino for the last 20-something years until this whole thing with the pandemic and Tracy called bullshit, and right after that, Trump said it was a hoax. And it started making me, and then shit didn't add up. And then by the time that he was getting out of office, everybody in the whole world hating on this guy made me think, well, that makes me like him. But if everybody hates you, you must be doing something right. So, Trump, landslide, of course. Under his previous presidency, we had low unemployment, cheaper gas. The economy was undeniably in a better shape than it is now. There was just generally a more wholesome feeling to the world than now, because like the whole Democrat agenda with CRT trying to reintroduce racial division in this country under the guise of, this is a typical Democrat tactic. They accuse you of what they're doing under the guise of trying to be woke and fair. They're gonna start telling everybody, all the kids, including the white kids themselves, that white kids are bad because they're white. I mean, if we threw the reverse roll on that one, what the fuck? Transgenderism, now finally, here's years later, and yet there's still idiots out there wearing masks, doing insane shit in the name of, viral health and all this. And all anyone would really have to do is just kind of like investigate themselves and find out what's really up. Nobody worried about it if it was the flu. The flu came and went every year, killed 1 million people in the United States almost every year, whatever. Nobody cared. So the deal was you had to call the flu something else. And then make it into this, oh yeah, it was a respiratory disease. Sure, it's hard to breathe when you're shitting and puking and fucking got snot running out your eyeballs and your asshole. But, you get over it in a few days.
Few weeks.
Which is really what happened. What it did was, this was a pandemic, it was a created pandemic of fear, and the big bully in the room said, boo. And the problem was, and is, that the vast majority of the world fucking flinched and cringed. Nobody just stood their ground. That first year was bad. Oh my God, that was bad. Everywhere we went, it was just getting more restrictive and more restrictive, to where we couldn't buy food in a lot of places. I've got videos where one woman was, I was yelling at another guy, and she yelled at me that every time I yelled, My poisonous sputum was spewing into the air. And she was going to catch something and die.
Yeah.
There was a fucking security guard at this one Ralph's who was threatening me with his baton. I mean, it was just insane. And then all the school boards, and it turns out what your kids and your neighbors' kids are learning is super important to society, because Tracy and I have been together for like just over 20 years or whatever. There's kids, there's young people now that hold positions of power, like police, lawyers, doctors, whatever, and they weren't even alive when Tracy and I got together. So during the course of our time together, people have been conceived, born, raised from infants through toddlers to daycare to kindergarten, the grades, high school, all this shit, and become adults that hold a sphere of influence over you. And sometimes not to your best wishes. What they have learned, what we learned in school is vastly different from what they come out. And I talk to people of all ages. Gets a little creepy when they're younger, but they know other things. You can't, an old person like us is never going to compete against a 15-year-old on a phone or a computer or something like that. They are born with HDMI cords and fucking USB cords instead of umbilical cords. But they also don't know a lot of things, like anything to do with our supposed history. I don't know how true any of it is, but at least it used to be we had to keep pages of phone numbers in our head to remember people's numbers. There was no thing about assigning a name to a number. You had to remember that number. And so, if you were in jail, for instance, you could call up. Now, how do you get a hold of Ron or Steve or Sue on your phone book? You don't know, because their number, you're just dialing a name. And they also wander around listless, like a generation of...
I've never seen any kids that have
lost zombies. They don't have the same interest. There's so many young people, very young people, that we see in being homeless, and they are homeless also. We're old. We've been targeted. We've been harassed. There's something on my jacket that fucking got the authorities on our asses constantly. This is why we are in the position we're in. These younger people, they don't have this stigma, and they
have no drive.
We, even with our current law enforcement black jacket or whatever, if we were 30 years younger, we would not be in this situation. Getting old sucks. But I wonder why these people are just accepting their fucking fate of non-consequence, and they just,
Yeah.
and they don't know things. They're boring. And they soak up shit, but a lot of them have gone nuts. It's because no one's paid attention to them. The air of indifference in America is, if we do not get involved with our community's children and their best behalf, give them places, give them to play, give them sports, let them have the social. Stop making play dates. Stop having start celebrating holidays again, because whether or not you like it or believe it or whatever, it is a reason for a social gathering, and we need to assemble. We need to be around each other, or we're not going to be a healthy society. You can't have billions of isolated units walking around afraid to come in contact with each other. That's not what we are. We're more of a species type hive mind than we are anything else. We might have our tidal influences, but we're not gonna, and then you get, I don't know what was happening in the last 4 years here, and it's happening in a lot of places. So the world has been changed irrevocably. We're not going back.
Even though
so from our perspective, I'm glad that Trump's in, because he does represent, and I believe that the guy is underneath it all. He doesn't need to. Never did. He never did need to stand up to these fucking bully chicken shit. They're the kind that want to fucking pick a fight and then go hide behind a cop's skirts.
Yeah.
And then call the cop a piece of shit. No. They're just the worst kind of chicken shit bully there is. And so we needed him to stand up. And after what happened, it turns out no theory about it, they fucking cheated like a motherfucker and cheated him out of the last 4 years. I believe that there's a certain amount of divine intervention in the fact of, if you would have left Trump in, and he would have got a lot of great shit accomplished, right? People would not appreciate it, because we were still in this complacent sort of, we know the government has a bunch of back alley fucking secret shops, but we're not trying to look too close as long as everything else stays well. Now, nothing's been staying well. All the flaws of America have been exposed, and people are having to wake up, even though they don't want to. Hey, believe me, when you first get up in the morning and you fucking see your significant other or whatever stirring around, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want to get up. And close your eyes, maybe. I did that a few times today. But then, after a while, you're like, oh, okay. And then, until you get some coffee. Don't fuck with me before coffee. And, okay. Get to moving around in the daytime and shit stuff. But it's a bitch. It's a bitch. It's been that way. Even when I was 10 years old and I had all the energy in the world, I hated getting up. And I've always, you know what I mean? Yeah. Always hated that. It's fucking, you mean I was in my happy place and
you fucked that up.
And then you just brought me back to reality? Ooh. If drugs and alcohol were so bad, why are so many people doing them? And if reality was so great, then why isn't everybody high on life? Well, because it isn't, and they work. That's why. But Trump had to be the one. It could have been, he could not have been like in the background and facilitated this conservative MAGA Republican like resurgence, it wouldn't have worked. He was the guy they fucking chose to be the villain bad guy, and he's a pretty smart dude. He's ballsy as fuck, and he is a pit bull when it comes to finishing something. I give him that much. How many motherfucking Americans, I don't give a fuck what side of the aisle, how many would have withstood
all the shit that
his previous presidency, all the bullshit, the impeachments, the fucking getting cheated on, kicked out of office, degraded as a fucking piece of shit everywhere, vilified, and then during the course of the campaign, they shot him. They were trying to shoot him again. You know goddamn well who did that shit. And all these fucking cunts like fucking Whoopi and all that stuff, talking all their mad shit. Who wouldn't just go, fuck it! I'm out of here. I don't need this. I got a beautiful old lady. I got kids. I got businesses. The court things, oh my God, that guy's been through a lot.
Yeah.
And then the campaign, and the shit they talked, and they just continue to lie. And it gets proven that it's a lie, and then the liar's like, okay, it's a lie. And then as soon as they go in the next room, they tell the lie all over again, as if it's all brand new, and you gotta fucking go through every time, and that broad, what was she going to do? It was going to be worse than it has been. That was what was going to happen. If it had been her, everything would have been worse. The day she got elected, she'd still be vice president now, as she is. Biden is still president. The November 6th, things would have gotten increasingly worse. And anybody who doubts it, it's just because you're out of touch. The only reason things at all are starting to even out is because of the prospect of what the future holds. And hopefully, I believe that it'll be better. All that being said, from our perspective, still being homeless, we are like prisoners of war because we've been very vociferous in our defiance. I don't like being manhandled by police and all this shit. So we're in an enemy state, California. It's even if there was sanctuary right across the state border, we can't get there yet, and nobody's really offering that. Pretty much everybody will still hate homeless people.
And not that we choose to be homeless.
No, we don't choose to be homeless.
We hate it.
We hate this. And we do everything we can to minimize our impact that way and to try to assimilate but also, if you hate me long enough, well then I hate you back. People don't know why we're homeless.
They don't know.
I mean, we are of Social Security age, and yet we're fighting with them to get any money. I've been denied all my VA benefits. There was no room for appeal, mind you. And we've been hunted, harassed. I've had charges, illegal rights violations everywhere. Like, we could be sitting here and the cops just swarm us and arrest me.
For no reason.
For no reason. While I'm talking to you, I could be making a video, and I have been.
Yeah.
And they will just arrest me and then stop the little button there. And so that's what happens. From our perspective, maybe it's because we're in California, but I have a feeling that it happens somewhat to some degree in just about everywhere in America. When are people going to wake up and realize that just like CRT and just like transgenderism and just like all this defund the cops and George Floyd, these are all these media images that have been created. And everybody in there, they just look and follow. When are people going to realize that the media image that they have portrayed about homeless people is in fact, for one, incorrect. Two, it's why? Why would you have, if there's so few people, like they say, according to their numbers, I think they're way wrong, way short, 500,000 across the United States. No, that's what they say, is 500,000.
No, there's a lot more.
So, but you could let 20 million illegals come in and fund them for 4 years or more. But you can't get, but the only thing you could do for American homeless, and those people, by the way, they were homeless when they got to the border, because if they had a home, why would they be going to the border? So you're taking in everybody else's on Earth's homeless people and treat them like God. But American homeless people, we get shit. Honestly, I don't see any change for us, despite what the fuck happens politically.
Yeah.
You know, we are, and it's because
the law or
the cops are a fucking an extension. They're not really like all
they're the problem out here.
They are the problem out here, they're the problem because the public demands it. The public demands it because they are fucking so easily misinformed and misled and misdirected into all the papers and all the news agencies would have to do is in one night, if they all got together and said, hey, you know what? Those homeless people are just some poor homeless Americans. They need help. And they would fucking immediately, the next day, America would turn, oh, you poor guy, what do you need? And like her and I, you know, it wouldn't even be so much about what you need, but just leave us the fuck alone. Yeah. So from our perspective, the homeless perspective concludes on this, that really it doesn't matter whether you have a conservative or a liberal administration. I prefer regular America, though. But everybody, until you pull your fucking heads out of your asses, America, we're all going to be just fucked. And there's nothing, you have no idea. Why don't you just go? Why don't you just? You don't know. Well, I could tell you why I don't just, and I will in subsequent videos. Yeah. But this is not, these are not a matter of lack of industry or overcoming an obstacle. This, you don't even know that. You can't, without an address, you can hardly do anything. From our perspective also, I see that a lot of the people that maintain regular existences, they don't even know that they are slaves to the system. And I'm not sure I want to jump back into that, because after you treat me badly long enough, then I think, fuck you. On that happy note.